Hey y'all, I'm about to post another video, but pretty much it was talking about how Epstein wanted a baby making ranch at his New Mexico property. It said that he wanted 20 women to be impregnated with his or at a excuse me, he wanted 20 women at a time impregnated with his DNA. Ick, okay? Then it leads me over to an article. This is from 2005, but it's talking about a sperm bank for elites, like scientists, mathematicians, whatever, smart people. But anyway, this will be in the Epstein files, even though it didn't really have anything to do with Epstein. But Epstein talked about this at dinner parties and stuff with some of his science buddies. The weirdest thing. But anyways, this book at the time, it says a bizarre tale of the rise and fall of an elitist sperm bank by Janet Maslin, June 2nd, 2005. So the Genius Factory, the curious history of the Nobel Prize sperm bank by David Plotz is illustrated 262 pages from Random House, 24.95. Imagine how picky you are when you shop for a CD player. David Plotz writes in his ebullient new contribution to the realm of weird science nonfiction. Now, suppose you expected the CD player to last 87 years, occupy its own room in your house, get married, have children, and take care of you in your old age. You'd be pretty choosy, too. Choosiness is all important to the Genius Factory. Mr. Plott's book about the ultimate in consumer elitism, if not as satisfied customers. He ventures into the fertility industry complex to uncover a tale pregnant with bizarre possibilities. It is about the rise and fall of the repository for germinal choice, the sperm bank that opened in 1980 and purported to offer top echelon sperm, dazzling back flipping 175 IQ sperm, courtesy of Nobel Prize winners. Sorry. Dazzling back flipping IQ or 175 IQ sperm. Oh my gosh. So the repository's work would eventually yield more than 200 babies, apparently none of them the genetic offspring of a Nobel laureate. That is one of the many oddities described here. Forget about Nobel laureates. The Nobel Sperm Bank was taking men you wouldn't wish on your ex-girlfriend, Mr. Plotz points out. The fact that the repository used colors to catalog the supposedly brilliant donors and disguise their identities from prospective parents, but couldn't even spell correctly, hence donor corral, donor coral, I guess they're saying, donor turquoise and donor fuchsia is another worrisome anomaly. Oh my gosh! And the degree of Mr. Plotz's immersion in his material gives the book an additional kink. The next few minutes passes as you would expect and are none of your business, he writes, about auditioning as a sperm donor for research purposes. My count was 105 million. What's yours, George Clooney? The book's history is as circuitous as the repositories. Mr. Plotz, who is the deputy editor of Slate and writes with endearing, rueful humor, was originally drawn to the story of William Shockley, who, by inventing the transistor, had midwifed the birth of Silicon Valley and kicked off the greatest commercial revolution in American history. That Shockley was a flagrant racist who also made himself one of the memorably noxious public figures of the 20th century further piqued the author's interest. Shockley had a role in shaping the repository's master race ideals. February 29th, 1980 was a big day not only for Shockley, but also for Robert K. Graham, the 74-year-old eyeglass tycoon who served as the repository's guiding light and who had initiated work on his dream project in 1963, a more felicitous time for it when the United States was enjoying its post Sputnik scientific renaissance and the egalitarianism of the late 1960s hadn't yet arrived. The longest chapter in Graham's autobiography is titled Princes and Princesses I've Known, which provides some inkling of his attitude toward the general citizenry. The entrepreneurial vigor, the cockamamie grandeur, the unshakable faith in practical science, the contempt for the pig ignorant, lazy masses, and the infatuation with finding and claiming the world's best men. These were the resources that Mr. Graham would bring to seducing his geniuses. Sometimes the sperm bank seemed a kind of supercharged autograph collection for Graham, the book observes. But that February 1980 official debut was the Nobel Sperm Bank's first great day and its last one, the author explains. Disaster struck immediately in the person of William Shockley. When Shockley was presented as the kind of Nobelist whose genes the place would disperse, the whole idea became controversial and other brilliant scientists were scared away. This may have been necessary anyway. The idea of Nobel-winning donors threatened to give the place a little bald professor reputation. In addition to describing how the repository had to switch gears and alter its original agenda, the Genius Factory explores the personal side of this story. Mr. Plott seeks out the kind of genetically ambitious parents who chose to use the repository services and finds exactly the kind of arrogance one might expect. He looks for genetic connections between separately reared children of the same donor. Although half siblings have existed for as long as men have been cheating dogs, the sperm bank brother was something new, he writes. And although almost everyone here is given a pseudonym, Mr. Plott finds Doran Blake, a prodigy whose mother, as the author puts it, turned her son's life into the Truman Show. When asked if he had read Hamlet in kindergarten, this whiz kid's widely publicized answer was, "Good gosh, can't everybody?" Mr. Plotz's position at Slate would wound up giving him a pivotal role among repository alumni. When he began an online series of articles about the sperm bank, he became not only a great catch for television producers, but also a conduit. With no other way to find their biological fathers, the repository closed in 1999. Ersatz Nobel offspring turned to him for information. Here lay the quicksand. How far would he venture into the personal, messy, desperate yearnings of the real people who owed their very lives to surreal science? Most of the Genius Factory is so perfectly pitched, blithe, smart, skeptical, yet entranced by its subject that the awkward sections stand out. And while it may have suited a running online soap opera for the author to seek out pedigreed people and report on their troubles, that material is more sorted here. This book manages to avoid voyeurism as long as its story is told in the abstract, with only a couple of nutty racist tycoons as its targets. But when it churns up the lost souls who have pinned all their hopes on gene pool fairy tales, he risks exploiting otherwise first-rate material. Mr. Plotz's kindness and sympathy are indisputable, but this story begins and ends with private matters, and it doesn't have a happy ending. So anyway, I just thought I would look into this little section because that's kind of weird. Because it just happened to be in the same article of the New York Times about Jeffrey Epstein wanting to have basically a eugenics factory or a baby making factory in his New Mexico home. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. It's kind of weird. Some of these people think their sperm is just that worthwhile Anyway, talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye. Come on, close out. Sorry.